Live from the Business RadioX studio in Atlanta, it's time for Organization Conversation, brought to you by Wall Control Storage Systems. Wall Control gives you the storage and organization you crave. Now, here's your host, Richard Grove.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is fun. It's our first show back in the studio since WORKBENCHcon. There's going to be a lot more WORKBENCHcon episodes coming out as the weeks pass, so stay tuned for those. But this is our first time being back in studio, so we're excited. And we're super excited to have Tiff from Carver Designs with us today. How's it going, Tiff?
It's going really good. I didn't know I was the first since you've been back, so that's extra exciting for me. I feel a little bit special.
You should. We're excited to have you back. We even moved some stuff around to have you back, so to be the first one back.
And then I get Stephanie as a bonus.
Exactly. Yeah, Stephanie's the permanent co-host, so it's good to have her here. She asks good questions.
Oh, it's official now. I love it.
Of course, yeah. So yeah. So how have things been since WORKBENCHcon? Well, I guess a little background. We actually met for the first time at WORKBENCHcon, and it was great getting to know you. And we've been in communication ever since it was over. We got you some wall control. It looks awesome in your background. People probably can't see that right now if they're not watching, but yeah. So how have things been? How's it been catching back up?
It's been amazing. So like my life has been completely changing since WORKBENCHcon. So I had hosted it. Like I did the Instagram takeover for my podcast. And ever since I got back from all the people that I met and hung out and all the brainstorming that happened there, I've been pitching myself to different companies and really doing well. I actually got hired by WORKBENCHcon to be their social media manager, as well as to manage Haven's Instagram as well. And I'm actually going to be working with Sabretooth and doing a podcast for them, very much like you guys do for your company. We're going to do a whole podcast for Sabretooth to highlight carvers. And it's going to be really cool to just hang out with carvers. We've got 2 episodes a month. That's just going to be me chatting with somebody like I used to do on Behind the Maker podcast. But now we're also going to have these once a month bonus ones that are going to be really fun. They're going to be more of a hangout. So it's going to be really cool. So I've just got a bunch of things in the fire right now. I'm going to be managing Sabretooth's podcast, Instagram as well. So just That's a lot awesome. Of fun.
Yeah. So how did all that come about? How did the taking over the WORKBENCHcon social media and partnering on that, the same with your other business collaborations? I know a lot of people that listen. We have a kind of a diverse audience from the standpoint of there's a lot of makers that are, trying to follow in your footsteps with those sort of partnerships. And then brands that are trying to figure out how to partner. How did that work out for you? Is there any tidbits of advice you could give on either side of that fence?
Oh, absolutely. I actually was just talking to Lindsay from Woodbrain. Oh, yeah. But she was amazing at kind of just helping us in the beginning of COVID, just brainstorm about pitching yourself to different companies. We would have discussions on Clubhouse, which I don't know if you guys know about Clubhouse, but it's just an app you can download to your phone where it's just a chat room all day. You can pop in and out of it. And there's a lot of woodworkers and makers on there. So I'll just go in there and chit chat with different makers. And Lindsay was one of those. And she would just talk about, we'd have little sessions of brainstorming about how we can work better with brands and what we can offer them. And my biggest thing that I found is find something that they're lacking in that you could offer a service, something that you could fill the gap in. And that's kind of what I noticed, with WORKBENCHcon. I noticed they don't post a lot. They don't share on their page, well, they didn't, they do now. But,
yeah, I've noticed.
But it's because Kristen, who throws the event, has so many things going on that she couldn't take care of that aspect. So there was that gap there. And I noticed it and I talked to her and I pitched, hey, I have this podcast. I have such a big maker connection. I hang out with them every week and get to know them. I think I'd be a great fit on hosting the event. So that's kind of how I pitched it. And so we did the event and I worked really, really hard and showed her who I am and what I can do. And I proved it to her. So on the way home, I was just texting her back and forth. And, we just got to talking and I said, I think I can really help you. And I think it could be a really good collaboration because there were some gaps, like, at WorkBenchCon, where people noticed that some classes kind of weren't the same as they were advertised, and that, they go into things and they didn't want to not, waste their time, but make the wrong choice. So like, there's fun stuff like that we're going to be working on throughout the year to make sure that you can make the best choices when you attend the conference and get the biggest bang for your buck. So it's going to be a lot of fun of just like sharing the speakers. Like, we're going to do little mini interviews and talk about the speakers that are coming, so people know what they're going to be learning. It's going to be a lot of fun. So it's a great way to keep building the community stronger and stronger. Yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, I love the bit about looking for where they might be lacking and offering those suggestions and having collaborations that way. I mean, that's really helped us out a lot too, with partners that we have, and something I want to encourage the community at large to do. We want our vulnerabilities to be pointed out. And if we can, help monetize somebody in some way with something they can help us out with, that's like true collaboration. It's like, I think that's the more creative you can get with it, the more impactful it is, the more it benefits both parties. I really encourage anybody listening, if you have a suggestion for us, let us know, because we're always looking for ways to get better. And that's a great way for us, both partners to get better.
Exactly. And like we've been talking too lately about collaborations and things like that. Like, we should all be working together to help each other out and to build connections, because there are a lot of different things that people can do to help each other out and build those brands awareness. Like, people might not even know that wall control exists in the painting field. Like, I'm an artist, I paint a lot. So now, there's going to be fun exposure, and they're going to see that there's stuff that if you don't have space in your studio, there's options where you can store all your paint up in the air off a cabinet with metal tins as I tap on it. I know you can't see it, but like, it's not going to fall on me. As we were talking before the show, is I have all this paint just sitting above my head right now, and I'm not nervous at all. Like,
yeah, that's good. And I'm not nervous either. So that's,
but like, as a woodworker, you might not know about that because you maybe don't see that much, or you see only people hanging, tools on it, but not other stuff. So it's really cool to find different people in different fields that can help each other out. Yeah. And just bring more awareness to the cool stuff.
Yeah. And even, in our experience, even if it's just a little suggestion, you never know where that's going to go. And any little step in that direction, you start to layer different creative ideas on top of each other. And all of a sudden, something crazy comes up and you can take advantage of it together. We have a lot of examples like that where it started with just this one little thing, and then it led to some other relationship, and then that person knows this person. And it's kind of your classic networking, but across social media and across community and across, from, the individual maker to, in this scenario, in this community, to a brand. And you can really do a lot of things with all those different variables. And I guess the whole point of it is, you don't know where it's going to end up, but don't be afraid to take that first step or send that first email and just reach out and point out, like, and as the brand's perspective, we're not a big brand, but it's like, I think we've talked about this before on other episodes, but sometimes people think a brand is a brand is a brand, and like reaching out to Wall Control is not like reaching out to some big box store. It's going to land very different. So don't be afraid to just send that email. Who knows, what kind of day it's going to be, or we literally might be thinking, man, we really need somebody to do XYZ. And then someone steps up and they're like, hey, I'm really good at XYZ. Look what I'm doing over here. Can we work something out to where, I'm paid to do this and it helps you guys. So, back to that same point, just send that email, I guess, if someone's on the fence.
Yeah. The way you went about it too, I think from most brands' perspective, or I've hosted many events before. I used to do that before, and I was manufacturing it. Usually you have people who are like, oh, well, I didn't like the way you did this, or your classes weren't clearly explained. And instead of just coming to someone and whining about what you didn't like, you came with suggestions and the willingness to do it for them, as opposed to just complaining. And that goes a long way. And I hope more people take that. Yeah, take that note.
That's the same thing. It's the same thing we see like at work. Steph and I work together every day, and it's like, Stephanie is so good about, if there's a problem, not just this is a problem, but here's what I think will fix it. And that's a totally different conversation than just, hey, you guys aren't good at your Pinterest isn't good. okay, cool. What am I going to do with that? You know what I mean? Like you gotta, like, are you good at Pinterest? Do you want to help me with it? Like that, that's the kind of conversation that actually is productive for both parties.
Yeah. And I think that's where my day job, which I don't talk about ever because it's like some secret. I have a day job.
Yeah.
But I work at a place called Velasas. It's basically all the coupons that you get in your mail or in your mailbox or newspaper. That's usually my company. It'll say save on it. And I've been working there for 16 years. So when we have issues and things come up, I am one of those people who are always like a solutioner. I'm always trying to find different ways to fix that issue. So I've been working in direct mail printing for over 20 years. I've got a lot of troubleshooting. I've done a lot of different things and different aspects of it. So I think it's kind of been bleeding into my nightlife. Which,
yeah, exactly.
Which was dedicated to painting and making art, but it's starting to morph into connections and to like something more of like a real job, which is kind of fun for me to kind of see my day job kind of shrinking out of my interest and having this whole new world opening up. I really like it.
Yeah. So back to that, how did you get your start, with Night Carver Designs? Obviously it started at night, but like, what's that journey looked like for you from your, and how that kind of pie chart of where time spent has gone?
No, absolutely. So I've been painting and making since I was a child. So it's just something that's always been with me. My parents both were little hustlers as well. When we were younger, my parents would do like scroll saw art. And then so my dad would go in the garage, he would scroll out patterns. Then my mom would bring them in and she would paint them. And then, so as we got older, we would sit at the table and, you're the base coater. And then the next person's, doing all the other prep stuff. Then my mom would do all the final shading and the details. So I grew up doing that. I always knew that I was going to be an artist in some fashion. So I went to college for graphic design was my minor and fine art was my major. And I just did every possible art that I could do and just engross myself in that. And then when I went to get a job, you realize that when you're younger and you have no experience in graphic design, it's really, really hard to get a job in that field. So I ended up working in marketing and advertising as the intermediate person, the person who gets all the art from the clients, packages it all up and sends it off to the artist to do, which really sucks. I've always been a step away from actually doing the art. And I've been doing that for 20 years, just at different jobs. So at night I would paint and do things for myself. And as I started getting into woodworking more, I got married and we had kids and I was trying to find a hobby that me and my husband could do to entertain ourselves since we couldn't go out anymore, and he ended up not liking it, but I used to call it Marchand Woodworking, which is my last name is Marchand. So really original name.
Yeah, there you go. Well, easy to Google.
Before that, it was called Boutot Design, before I met my husband. Yeah. So that was my maiden name. I'm really good at naming things.
Yeah, it's I see a pattern.
It's a trait. But when we had the kids and I needed that escape, I just started carving signs and trying different things instead of just scroll saw and painting. I started playing around with hand router carving. So I started with just grabbing a router and going for it. And then that evolved into getting a CNC. And I'm actually, the reason I just redid this whole room is because I have a laser coming soon. So I've just been pivoting to different kinds of ways of making art. And I'm actually going to be doing a brand new product line that is going to be a lot of fun, but it's also going to be very resourceful. And it's going to be doing something towards autism because both of my kids are autistic. So I'm going to be making something that's going to really help that world out. So I'm kind of trying to do something really cool that I think will be my money maker, my way to get rid of the day job. And then I'll also have WORKBENCHcon and Haven and Sabretooth. So I'll be able to carve and have fun. So I'm seeing a really fun life coming ahead. So I'm at that nice brink,
That's super exciting.
It is.
So I guess the kind of so you have the structure I kind of start to see, I feel with the folks that are doing it well, like yourself, you have your handmade, super custom stuff. And then you have, your brand partnership piece of the pie. And then there's also that piece like you'll have with the CNC where it's probably a little more streamlined production of like standard SKUs that you offer. Is that?
Yeah. So like the CNC and the laser are going to be, I'm going to have like a product line, like 5 products that you can order.
Like stay in stock.
And it's going to be in stock. I can pre-make a lot of the pieces and just kind of fire off one thing at a time that's going to be custom for them.
Right.
Like it's going to be like a real business that I hope to have my husband and kids actually manage. I don't actually want to be making repetitive things. I just want to make the designs for it and then let them do the work.
You're the artist and they do that scalable kind of, yeah, exactly.
I want my own little production line.
Exactly.
Passing down the painting at the table.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
Like, this is a tradition in our family. You have to do this now for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. My parents said this to me and now you're going to love it. No,
we've been, when I was a kid, we had oil paints and it was killed my brain cells. So you're lucky.
The chemicals we played with back then.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be really cool. So, and it's very exciting. I'm just not talking about what I'm making because
of course.
it's that cool that I don't want anybody else to make it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So are your kids and husband, are they more on board now that it's progressed? Looking,
Yeah, my husband wanted nothing to do with woodworking. He did not enjoy that, especially when it's dirty. Hot and then you get sawdust.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot to clean up. It's a messy hobby.
Yeah, I come in and I'm like just sticky and gross, and I'm just happy about it. And he's like, "This is the worst."
Oh, I have one of those.
Yeah,
significant others at home.
Yeah.
Except stuff you go home from work covered in, it's like all kind of different materials you interact with.
Like my home dirt just sticks to my work dirt and makes like an extra layer.
You really are the alchemist, like Donovan's thing. It's like you do it all. So
makes for an exciting laundry day.
Yeah, exactly. Your significant other's like, he's like, what is this material? Like every week it's some different goo or color.
He's like, what even are you, what is this?
Yeah. You probably at some point need a separate washing machine altogether just for like hobby work stuff on a bad day.
I've actually been trying to buy a washing machine this week because our new house has septic, and trying to explain what I do and my needs for a washer and dryer that's high efficiency and takes grease and chemicals and paint and epoxy out of clothes. And the appliance men have I've gotten some interesting looks.
I was going to say, you might be careful. You might get flagged or marked as some, I don't know what
They're
she's
like, well,
doing,
you need a commercial washer. I was like, but I can't because it's a septic.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's his challenge right there.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. The things you don't think about when you are a maker and you actually do things with your hand, the washing machine.
I had a commercial washing machine for 10 years. So not having one now is going to be an interesting.
Yeah. You have to get some heavy duty detergent or something. So some very hot water.
This is a real problem.
That's what I'm saying. These
somebody,
people don't talk about this.
Somebody that's trying to solve a problem. That's the one.
Yeah.
Let's brainstorm on this later.
Exactly.
We can figure something out.
Please.
We can call it woodworking washing machines.
Yeah. You need to post about this, and we got to find you, a maker of this washer, and then you can be their, person. There's a gap. I found a gap for you.
I think the better you are at finding gaps, the better off everybody is. So that's cool.
So you and Maytag, you guys are now best friends.
Exactly. That'll be
go reach out to them.
An interesting collaboration. So, and we can do the storage for it. So that's nice.
Well, there we go. And we're gonna have this whole thing. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
This is honestly, that's how I felt like at WORKBENCHcon, is like someone would just tell a story like that. And then they're like, okay, let's go. We've got a solution. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you leave charge and you're like, I've got 17 things I agreed to do next week.
Exactly. That is hard. That's the hard part I get, like people with our personalities. It's just, you want to keep going after stuff and adding more to the agenda, like managing that. How do you manage that, Tiff? What's your strategy for kind of prioritizing?
That's really funny that you said that, because literally I made a lot of my deals 3, 4, 5 days after WORKBENCHcon, and I go to my husband and I turn to him and I go, I have to stop. I've committed myself fully. I know I can't go any further than this. And I actually had to remove myself from something that I had committed to be able to handle all of it. So I was going to teach a power carving and painting class for some amazing makers at M2 Labs. I don't know if you guys have heard of them, but they've been teaching classes, having makers teach classes of what they do. So I had already committed to doing that, and I had to pull myself out because I was committed for like April 10th. And I'm like, there's no way I can, because I was going to make like these little kits, and I was going to like sell a piece of wood that I had carved and got ready. And then we were all going to paint it and power carve it together. It was going to be real cool. But I'm like, there's no way I can do that and manage 3 Instagram accounts, start a new podcast, you know? So like, it's making those hard decisions of like, what is going to give me the most benefit. And, you know, like, what can I get rid of? Like, I didn't want to not teach that class, and I will go back to them when life is at a better place. But like, knowing what you can handle, I think, is very important. Like, I know right now I'm scheduled at my max. Like, I wake up and I work until I go to bed, but it's for a good cause. Like, I know like what I'm doing is going to keep pushing me to that next level, but it's not without like being a big commitment. Like, I know what I've taken on and what I have to do. So it's making sure you don't overschedule yourself and overcommit. And if you can drop a few things to make what you really want work, then be ready to have to do that and have some hard conversations, but good ones. Like, you know, when I told Melissa at M2 Labs, like, we just had a nice heart to heart, and you just have to be honest of what you can do, and people respect that. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, you know, that we're all interacting with are in that same boat, and they appreciate that. And they've had to have those same conversations. It's a no hard feelings kind of thing. It's just, there's only so much time today, and you only have so much to spread out, go around. I mean, that's the, you know, same thing for us. Actually, we were having, and we can talk about this more later, but just like internal conversations about, we have, I think, a dozen new products that are to some degree started. I mean, prototyped. Right? Yeah. And it's just a bunch. And I started really getting that organized. That's what I've been working on this week, is just trying to get kind of a work order process a little more streamlined, and align it with our manufacturing facility. But when you start looking at it, you're like, wow, when you really put it all in like a spreadsheet, it's a ton of stuff. So, getting organized, it's funny, organization conversation, but getting organized is very important.
It is
for something like that. And, you know, starting to do it is really helpful, because you can see, because I think us 3, we're the type that will just keep putting more and more on the plate, because it's energizing. You know, like you said, you wake up, you go all day long, and you're energized. You know, even during the hard parts, there's progress. You know, you kind of got an end goal in mind, so working toward that, you got good flow going. But it's like, until you put it all out, you can't really see how much how thin you've spread yourself. So
yes, exactly. And I want to be able to enjoy what I've committed to. You know what I mean?
Right,
so like,
sure.
Because the reason I'm committing to it is because I like it. You know, like, I'm taking it on because it's something I really, really enjoy doing. So yeah, it's an important balance. And I do agree. Like, we can talk about being organized. I am not an organized person. That is why I reach out to you, you know, like,
but you look, I mean, you're before and after.
You're faking it really well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fake it till you make it. You've made it. I think.
I juggle it all up here, and I have to get better at putting it on paper, but then I write it down, and then I don't remember where I put the paper. It's all very complicated, but you know,
you need a notebook.
Now, I have like 4 right in front of me.
I've never met anybody as good at writing things down as Stephanie. She is it is. It's impressive.
Have notebooks. If I don't write it down, like you might as well have never said it to me.
Because let's talk about it. Do you have like a special notebook that you carry with you?
I have
What's
like
your
10.
favorite? 10?
Well, I have like a pocket planner. That's my calendar. I have a planner for work. I have a big notebook for my personal business. I have just like an everyday notebook I write stuff down in. And I have a little one that has lists. I have a lot of notebooks.
For those listening, she has 2 notebooks on this table right here.
That's true.
And she's been writing the whole time, more off and on. So yeah, it's
it's so excited in the moment, talking to people that I don't get to see, that they say something. I'm like, I'm going to want to remember that later. If I don't write it down, then they're going to say something else exciting. I'm going to forget the first thing.
I need to do that.
It's so true though.
Yeah.
It's a good habit. That's a really good habit to have.
Yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to go back and look at the notes. I mean, they're there. I can't say that I always go back and look at them, but they're there.
Yeah. Even just writing it down though, that commits it to memory more than just like the auditory, like that you're seeing it, you're physically moving.
Retaining
So
it.
yeah. So even if never go back and look at it, it wasn't wasted energy. I mean, I think
the trick is to get a fancy pen because it makes it more enjoyable.
Yeah. And to that point, I am using a pen
agree.
Stephanie gave me, a fountain pen. That's, I didn't even know they made these little disposable things, but it writes really well. It makes it fun.
No, it does. It does matter. But yeah, like, so getting organized though, that's going to be so huge for this like shop that I'm putting together behind us right now. It's going to be able to give me an actual workflow. I never filmed the other half of my room because it was embarrassing. It was all just
Can
like
you show us now?
Well, you can see it. This is the half I used to hide. You're seeing it right now. Yeah.
Well, you've already cleared it out to make
before.
room for the laser. So that's kind of cheating.
Yeah. No. I have some before. Like if you go back on the last few reels that I just posted, you'll see I showed it, but my husband had already taken out 3 big racks that had inventory on it. Like literally it was like 1 that was full of boxes for shipping. And then 2 that was just inventory. This room was crazy. And I had another painting desk in here too. So
the before and after is awesome. And I mean, you did all that in a week, didn't you? Because you had a drop ceiling too, you took out and
3 12-hour days and then like another 8 hours the next day. So almost 4 days, but it was really crazy. That 5th day was just me trying to put stuff back in the room.
Yeah.
So how do you plan your space? Like, do you do it like graph paper and cut out the shapes and then move them on, or do you like put painter's tape on the floor or just visualize it and make it happen? How do you?
So I just act like an idiot and I move things around in circles until it fits right.
I'm kind of that way too.
My work desk, which is on like the other side of this wall that I have in front of me, it's like 3 inches too long for the doorway that it goes to. But I'm like, I don't even care anymore. I'm like, this is where it has to go. Like it was that bad because I didn't want to buy new furniture yet. I'm just trying to use what I already have. So to make it work, I totally have like an overhang, but it had to be done. It won't be filmed over there anyways. That's the part that's being hidden now, which is hilarious, is like the other half that I used to show.
Yeah.
But if it works, then it works.
It works. It works really well. I actually concentrate a little bit better because I'm like in a little nook. I'm back in my cubicle.
Yeah. That'll be a fun podcast, like a reverse the camera podcast where like everybody has to turn around their camera and do it from the other direction.
I'm going to be sick that day.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to be here for that.
Yeah. That would be
show what you're hiding.
Exactly.
No. Hard pass.
Yeah.
Not doing it.
It's like when you're in a Zoom session and people just blur out the background because like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
I can't even show you it.
The first 5 minutes, I'm not even listening to them. I'm like, what's back there? Just curious, So
what is that?
A lot of repeating has to happen.
That explains a lot of Zoom calls I've been on then because people never pay attention and I have so many things behind me.
Mm-hmm. Like, what is that?
In my office at home.
What is that fuzzy shape back there? Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I do that.
So kind of shifting gears a little bit, coming off the WORKBENCHcon, all this new collaboration, anything cool and exciting coming up for Haven you can talk about? I didn't realize it's kind of right around the corner. We were just talking about that on Wednesday. They're
in the middle of announcing all of the speakers right now. So like if you watch their Instagram this week, you're going to be seeing a lot of different speakers kind of making their announcements that they're going to be there, and like things are starting to be revealed now. So it's really cool. I know that the website has been getting tweaked too. So a lot of things are in the works right now. I think it's like when the gears are starting to start moving, really.
It's funny because I don't know what all I can ask you about, because you have a lot of different things in the works that are going to be coming out, with your brand partnerships, the podcast. Can you speak to that at all? Like when does that start up? What kind of structure is it?
April 15th is going to be the first episode. We haven't committed to any guests yet. So we're in like that plan it all out phase, but I just made the brand new logo for it. I got the template created for the episode art. So like it's in that fun planning stage because there's just so much that goes into before you even can get recording. So we're going to be booking guests. I would say this weekend is when I'll start reaching out to a few people. And it's just going to be people. We want to have like a variety of levels. We want to have people who have been doing it a long time that can give advice. But then we also want those people who just started and who are excited about it and maybe want to ask questions and just like sharing their passion about something. Because when I found like power carving, that was one of the most fun experiences. I started with like flap disc, and they did well, but then I kept seeing like saber tooth burrs and I'm like, what are those? Like, what is that? And I ended up getting the 4-inch disc and I grabbed an angle grinder, which I've never used an angle grinder before, but this looks cool. And the reason I got into it is I don't like to frame art. So I just started giving it like fun edging, and it was a great way to avoid having to make frames. That's
a funny like origin story. How you,
yes,
yeah, but that makes. I get it. That makes sense.
Let's be honest.
Exactly.
I was just telling, I don't know if you know, Made by Mary Lou. We were just chatting. I know Stephanie knows her.
Sorry.
We were just chatting and I go, I don't refer to myself as a woodworker. I like to work with wood, but I don't actually want to build anything. And that includes even just a frame for the piece of art that I made.
Frames are hard. And if you don't get the angles right, then it looks really bad.
Exactly. And then you can only get away with just like doing like the overlapping ends with no miters for so long until they're like, all right, step it up, kid.
Yeah, I like this. This makes total sense to me. The frame, knowing I had to frame it at the end would stress me out throughout the process. Like my work wouldn't be as good because I'd be like, God, I got to do that frame in a minute.
Actually, if you look at all the pieces behind me from my sticker club, I have one missing because I haven't ordered it yet. But you can see they're all either power carved or I've given them some kind of shape so that I would avoid making a frame.
Whenever I paint, I do it on like a 2 or 3 inch thick wood panel or canvas because it would look stupid frames.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to frame it.
See? So really, I found power carving because I don't want to frame. It's out there now. Everyone knows. But then I got hooked. And like, I want to talk to those people who've just started and who have that bug and they're like, just like, they can't wait to keep playing with like, what kind of textures can they do? Can they make characters like that pumpkin that I carved? That I was stoked to carve that thing. I had never made like an object, and I'm going to be making like a garden gnome next, I think, because somebody suggested it, I think. And I was like, actually Joni suggested it. And I was like, that would be amazing. So I'm like, I got to do a garden gnome next, but it's a really fun thing. And I think people who do it are passionate about it. So I thought it'd be a really fun way to get that community built stronger, and a great way for Sabretooth to start talking to their community because they haven't posted in a long time. It's been three or so months. And that's when I saw an opening. Absolutely. And that's when I approached, and when I pitched it, it didn't go the first time. Like I didn't pitch podcasts. I pitched social media. And then I realized, like, when I saw Wall Control come out with their own podcast, I'm like, that is a great idea to have like companies be able to reach people through a podcast like that. And I thought that would be a perfect fit for Sabretooth because it takes something that I'm very passionate about, and I'm passionate about podcasting, and marries them together, So it's like a perfect fit. Yeah,
that was great. Great ability to spot that need and what you like to do. And yeah, I appreciate you saying that too about the podcast, because I mean, you guys have been doing it for a long time, but I feel like for brands, it might be kind of a newer thing, but it's a really good way to get a message out conversationally that just doesn't resonate if you just throw it up on a website or something, kind of talk, point those things out, point out benefits, and highlight partners and friends like yourself that you otherwise it's hard to do just through like a post. So.
Exactly.
So, I'm kind of hopping all around, but so at WORKBENCHcon, did you meet a lot of new power carvers and people that are new to this, space?
So I got to meet Katie Freeman, which I was very excited about. I've been talking to her for years, but we never got to meet in person. So that was awesome. And I actually attended her class there because it was the only power carving class that they had. And it was so fun to see. There was like a young kid in it. I think he was like 18. I'm that 40-year-old now. There was a young kid in the class. But like he was lit up. He was so excited to see what was happening. And then I saw a lot of people grabbing the tools for the first time and doing it. And it was really fun to see those who, like, a lot of people had never done it. So it's a lot of people doing it for their first time, and to see that excitement was really cool.
That is awesome. And it's like the the cool thing about that is the barriers to entry aren't super great. Like it's
There's
not,
no barrier.
Yeah. It's like wood, power tool, and you can start creating art. I mean, you've graduated to CNC and all this other stuff, but it's like for somebody who just wants to be creative, it's totally doable. You can leave and be doing it, that evening if you're that into it. So
yeah, it's like the scroll saw. I mean, like you can just go for it. Like,
but even the scroll saw is more expensive. I think I started power carving with like a $30 angle grinder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I did. I got the Harbor Freight special.
Exactly.
And then I married up to, DeWalt afterwards.
Yeah, it worked for 2 weeks and you learned you like it, and that's good enough. Yeah.
Yeah. No, seriously. It's still lying around in the shop somewhere, but
I made the mistake of not looking at the RPMs on my first angle grinder, and because I did power carving, I think the first time I did it was at WORKBENCHcon, like a lot of WORKBENCHcons ago. And I used a turbo plane, and I was like, this is amazing. Yep. And so I went and bought an angle grinder and a turbo plane. Well, I didn't read the RPMs on the $30 grinder I had, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working.
Was it just like super slow? Like
it was way too fast.
Oh, too fast? Okay. Yeah. Well, you're learning.
Those things are crazy too.
Yeah. But take the class, people. Take the class.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what's so cool about those conferences is just there's something for everybody. And even, myself as a brand, I get value out of a lot of the classes too. Like I talk about Pinterest, like Sarah does a good Pinterest class she has I forget the last time she did that I was at it, but learn a lot at that. Same thing with like the SEO, how to run a blog, all that stuff resonates with brands as well. So if there's a brand,
that's cool.
Yeah, if it's like, if for us, you think about going and creating the partnerships, but you don't really consider you could learn something too to help your brand be better that you can do yourself internally.
I was going to say, as a brand, like when people approach you, what are the things that they say that pique your interest? Like, is it the way that they're pitching it, like something new or exciting? Like what things that do you like to hear? I'm just kind of curious if you don't mind sharing.
That's a great question. I appreciate it. I like fielding the questions too. So, first of all, what we talked about, how they can help us be better is a really great way to lead, here's what I see and I understand this and this is not a knock on it at all, but if you just send like, here's a blurb about me, here's my marketing sheet with what I charge for an Instagram post, blah, blah, that doesn't, that's just like fishing for, it feels like just throwing those things against the wall and seeing what sticks. Insert brand name here, fire off a bunch of emails,
very generic. Yep.
Totally. So, it's really cool if somebody already has our system or a little bit of it already you're on like second or third base with that, just because we see that, you've used the product, you've chosen to get it yourself. You've probably even, you bought it. And so it's like, that's where we can really, that's, a good jumping off point. And then just taking time to be a little creative about what they're pitching, if a little thought that's gone into it, that's helpful. And the other thing, this is really like one of the main things, just make it easy. Like just come with like, here's what I need. Here's what I want to do with it. Is this cool with you guys? Like if it's like a yes or no, we'll obviously elaborate on that, but make it easy for the brand to take that next step and not require a whole bunch of additional steps. You got to realize, at least for us, and I'm sure everybody, when you're reaching out to these brands, most of these folks are wearing a ton of different hats. And so this is like a very, for me, it's the funnest thing about what I do, but it's also, I can't make it like my entire day, so, as easy as you can make it for a brand to say yes, the better off it's going to be for both parties, in my opinion, in my experience.
That's cool. I just thought it'd be a perfect question to ask, because I know people listening to this are probably curious, since we were talking about it, like might as well hear it from the source,
Yeah, exactly.
We get all kinds of, Richard gets them all day, every day. I usually get them when I'm at the event, standing there in a wall control shirt.
But Stephanie gets the best ones.
But I can say like since I've been at Wall Control, I've been to a lot of events, and I've had some people come up and say, so what is this? It's for organizing. Well, I have a garage. You should give it to me. Like, you didn't even know what it was 30 seconds ago. It's a very, very heartfelt pitch. You know, we would love to do, you know, and then we have the people, my favorite people that come up and they're like, so I have this idea. I was looking at your product and I want to do something really crazy and I don't know if that's okay with you. I'm like, yes, it is. Go ahead. Tell me more, you know, and those are the people I like to hear because, you know, I mean, not everybody has a garage, but everyone can use organization. But if you're using it in a different or unique way, or you're trying to, you know, adapt something that we have to make it more perfect for your space, you know, we're creators, you know, we make a product. Obviously, we're okay with people making it their own and using it in a way that's not what we thought it would be used for. And so that's exciting, you know, I don't want to give away any of the great ideas I heard at WORKBENCHcon because they're still working on them now, but you know, there's some cool stuff that's coming that I was like, what? Yes, please do that. That would be so cool.
Yeah. Anything that's like makes you curious is like exciting and fun. So yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say, there's,
for everybody.
It's funny. And I don't think anybody listening to this would do this, but it's, we will get a lot of them that I don't know. They'll just send like, hey, this is Bob. I'd like to help promote your stuff and I'll share it on Instagram. Thanks, Bob. Like, and the email address is like bob457@gmail.com. Like, I have no idea, like just a link to something, you know, like, so to introduce, and then like, if the first email they have to send back is like, can you send us a link to your brand, you know, your own personal brand's content so we can familiarize ourselves with you? That's probably, that's not off to the right foot or not off on the right foot. We still, I mean, the other thing too, like Steph knows when we talked about, we rarely would ever just tell somebody, no, we don't want to do anything. It's always some degree of working with someone, you know, whether that's, you know, it depends on a ton of different things, but you know, just a discount if they want to try to do something cool, you know, from that all the way up to, you know, sponsored post kind of thing. So it's a really wide scale, and I'm sure that's the same for every other brand. So just, you know, reach out and make it easy and put as much information in that first email as you can, and you're off on a really good foot.
Yeah. And a lot of people think, oh, well, like, you know, I'm not famous, so they're not going to work with me. Yeah. But if you have a really cool idea that no one else has done, then
exactly,
that's great for us. That's better than somebody who is going to do not even get our product and not even do anything with it, or not even put it in the background of a picture or anything. You know, having somebody that actually really wants to work with us, that's super valuable in its own regard.
Yeah. And if that person came to us and they were like, we want to make a YouTube video about this, or we're going to make a YouTube video about this, or we're going to do, you know, this blog post, and we can see kind of what their platform is. A following really doesn't matter if they're willing to create that evergreen content and we can see that it's on a platform that we think's got some legs to it. So, you know, there's a lot of ways you can go with it. And Tiff, you're super creative. You know how to pitch these things, so that's a good question to like ask for people that are listening. So
it was a learned skill though, for sure. Like I didn't know it 2 years ago, you know, like it's one of those things that you once you start doing it, you get better and better at it. So like, I think this is a great episode for people who really are trying to learn to work with brands, because you have to start by trying, and these are great pointers, and the more you do it, the better you're going to be at it. And as you were saying, once you get used to spotting gaps and figuring out solutions and putting that work in to pitch that solution, you're going to have a really good head start than other people who are just saying, hey, that looks cool. Can you give me some?
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's no right way to do it. You know, maybe there's some wronger ways, but there's no yes. textbook right way. So just give it a go, and you'll get better as you go along. So, well, cool. Well, Tiff, I don't want to take up your whole day. I know you have 8,000 things you got juggling right now, but I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk about this stuff.
No, thanks for having me. It was great. And I'll have to have you guys on my new shows once I get those other ones going. So
yeah, absolutely. And we are looking forward to that after picture, the one that shows the whole room.
Oh yeah. I'll show you the whole. Right now, there's nothing to hide. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Well, all your stuff's in the hallway.
Yeah.
I've got some of it on the wall control. I'm getting there.
Yeah, it's looking good. It's
getting there. The paint's off the floor.
I mean, I work at Wall Control and my paint is in a drawer where I can't get to it. So I feel like a huge dummy. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, I'm an idiot.
Like, good idea.
I was like, oh, the shelf guards. Why didn't I think of that?
The painter's house never gets the paint or the organization.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's so true though. I mean, clear example here, but it had to happen. After only 13 years of living here, I finally remodeled this room.
That's not bad.
You're waiting for the right opportunities to come up in your life to have a reason to.
Exactly.
It's true.
Well, cool.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Thanks again, Tiff. And we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome.
Oh, one quick thing before we go. Anybody listening, what's the best way to follow you or any account you want to, try to promote?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Carver Designs is my Instagram account. That's where you're going to see all of my art and things like that. And then you definitely want to follow WORKBENCHcon, Haven Conference, and Sabretooth, because those are the ones that I'll be managing. And Sabretooth is where I'll be having the podcast. And it's Burr, like BURR tooth.
Cool.
Just throwing it out there.
Excellent. Thanks again, Tiff. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great one.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Organization Conversation is brought to you by Wall Control, a family-owned and operated producer of best-in-class wall-mounted organizers for your home or business, made right here in the USA. To learn more, go to wallcontrol.com.